Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome everyone to the Hand and Foot Masterclass. I'm so glad to see so many of you joining me. Actually, that being said, where are you joining me from? Put where you're from in the chat, and please also let me know if this is your first introduction to melt, if you've been melting for a while, or if you're a melt instructor. Just let us know a little bit about yourself in the chat. It'll be great to read those later. So please keep yourself muted as I go through this presentation, and then we're going to open it up for questions and answers after we're done. So we're going to be doing a mini hand and a mini foot treatment. So hopefully you all have this melt large softball out there. And if not, please don't use a different prop. Some balls are really hard and they're not going to yield the same result, and sometimes you can injure yourself. So get yourself a large softball. You can always watch this recording afterwards, after you get your large softball, and take advantage of a lot of the changes that you can make just by melting your hands and feet. So my name is Kerrie Bodendorf, and I discovered melt back in 2010. And at that time, I had debilitating bunion pain, I had wrist issues, and the back pain, the kind of back pain that would come out of nowhere and just grip me, and I would be incapacitated for a week or two at times. And because I was in so much pain, I actually developed panic attacks and anxiety. I didn't want to go anywhere or do anything. At the time, I was a stay-at-home homeschooling mom of 3 children. We were a very busy family, and it got to the point where I didn't want to go anywhere or do anything with my kids. And there I was, probably one of the days I was laid up on the couch with my back out. I was flipping through the channels, and the Regis and Kelly show was on, and Sue Hitzman, the creator of the Melt Method, was on the Regis and Kelly show. And I felt like she was speaking directly to me. I did not have to feel this way. And if I was feeling that way at 40, imagine how I was going to feel at 50, 60, 70 years old, right? So she said, all you need are these little balls, and you can make changes in your body. And instead of going down the route of getting bunion surgery and carpal tunnel surgery, and God only knows what done to my back, I decided to get a hand and foot kit. I started melting my feet, and much to my delight and surprise, my low back pain that had been plaguing me for close to 25 years began to go away. And I thought, how is this working? I need to find out more. So I went back to the website. She was having a hand and foot training, and I signed up. I didn't have any plans to become an instructor. I wasn't going to be a melt instructor. I was just going to learn this myself. I was going to learn all the ins and outs of it and the science behind it. And well, here I am today. I am the head of Melt Instructor Training Program. I also wear many other hats for the method. I help to organize the Melt on Demand collections that you see. I help many instructors get on our Melt on Demand platform. I train our teachers' assistants, and I'm very involved in all of the trainings and doing live events with the Melt method. So as you can tell, I did become a melt instructor because I took the training, and I loved it so much. I love to share melt with other people. I have a huge passion for it. And I also have a huge passion for helping others become teachers of melt. So whether you are just interested in melt for yourself and your own self-care, or you're really interested in possibly becoming a melt instructor, you're in the right place. So welcome. I am going to share my screen. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what melt is, and then we'll get right into the mini hand and foot treatments, and then I'll open it up for questions. Okay, so let me share my screen if my cursor or my mouse works from way back here. There we go. So what is MELT? MELT is a gentle self-treatment technique designed to eliminate chronic pain and reverse the negative effects of aging by tapping into the nervous system and the connective tissue system. The connective tissue system or the connective tissue was once thought to be just a passive packing material, kind of like saran wrap around a sandwich. But what we're now what we now know is connective tissue, or fascia, as it's called, is the supportive structure of our bodies. And without it, movement would not be possible. Connective tissue connects us from skin to bone, head to toe. It wraps around every muscle, bone, joint, organ, cell, all the way down to our DNA. It's what gives our muscles proper timing, our joints absorption. It keeps our organs tucked back within our bodies and protected. And it also gives our skin its supple support and lift. Daily living dehydrates this vital system. Whether you are a couch potato or an exercise enthusiast, the repetitive postures and patterns that we experience each day leads to connective tissue dehydration, or what we call in melt stuck stress. Incoming stress, like all of these, maybe you can relate to one of these pictures. Incoming stress also is stored as stuck stress in our connective tissue system. So many of you are probably suffering from connective tissue dehydration. Maybe you know it, maybe you don't. But by a show of hands, let me know how many of you get up multiple times to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. Once, twice, three times. I used to be a three time a night kind of person. And how about after you get up in the morning or after sitting for long periods of time, do you feel stiff or achy? Show of hands. Yeah. So that's a lot of people, right? And we think, oh, that's nothing, right? Because when we get up and start walking around, it starts to go away. But it wasn't really nothing. Your body was actually sending you distress signals that something wasn't quite right. So if you think of your connective tissue system like a river, because it truly is a fluid-based system, it's kind of like you're laying down sediment in your river. And if you don't go in and clear it out with maybe a little bit of melt, it starts to accumulate. And as the sediment or stuck stress accumulates, joints fall out of alignment, your posture can decline, low inflammation increases. You may feel exhausted by mid afternoon, but falling asleep and staying asleep at night may be difficult. Your stiffness and achiness may turn into chronic pain symptoms. So, is there something you can do about it? We always say absolutely yes. So, many of you who are eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, sleeping well, drinking plenty of water, and have some kind of stress management practice are still suffering from chronic pain issues. Hey, even the people who are teaching us about these healthy practices are also suffering from chronic pain issues. We believe that melt is the missing link to a body that functions more efficiently. So today I'm going to teach you how to assess your body for stuck stress and how to become a hands-off body worker using the MELT 4Rs protocol. Reconnect, rebalance, rehydrate, and release. We believe it's the perfect recipe to get out and stay out of chronic pain. So melting your hands and feet can help alleviate body-wide pain. Hand treatments improve grip strength and dexterity, relieving things like trigger finger and arthritis, calming the pain of wrist sprains and carpal tunnel syndrome, osteoarthritis, and tennis elbow. Melting your hands can even help with chronic rotator cuff issues or frozen shoulder, dowager's humps, and headaches. Melt foot treatments can improve balance and stability, relieving the pain of plantar fasciitis, bunions, ankle sprains, torn ligaments, IT band syndrome, sciatica, scoliosis, bulging discs, just to name a few. So, all that being said, let's actually try a little melt, shall we? So, before we melt, take a little sip of water. We suggest for best hydration, sipping on water slowly and consistently throughout your day. That way, your cells actually have a chance to absorb the water that you're drinking. So, when we melt, we actually stimulate the cells in our connective tissue and they become very thirsty. And the way I kind of think about it is it's like if you've got that sediment around your cells, right? Like that stuck stress, that river picture I showed you, it's kind of like swampy pond water around our cells. When we melt, we kind of flush away that swampy pond water and replace it with beautiful, fresh spring water. That's just kind of how I visualize what's happening in my own body. So when you do this, your body needs fresh water to draw into the cells. So have a little sip of water. So I like to start with a neck turn assess. So sit up nice and tall and just make sure you remember where you are in your space. You can melt your hands on the floor. I'm going to be demonstrating today on a table. So sit up nice and tall. Take a look where you're sitting because I want you to sit in the same exact place when you reassess, and turn your head from side to side. I want you to notice, do you feel any stiffness, achiness? Do you hear any sounds, any clicking or cracking? And how far can you turn your head to the right and to the left? So I'm actually going to take a mental picture. I can kind of see the edges of my tree on this side and over here. And I can kind of see an edge of a melt roller over on that side. So take a mental picture of how far to the right and left you can see, and we'll see if we make any improvements in your neck just by melting your hands. Take your large softball and let's do a grip assess. So just notice, how does that feel in this hand? Put it over to the other side. Do you have any stiffness or achiness in your wrists, in your fingers? Notice if one side feels a little stronger than the other. Maybe you've got a weaker side. Just notice that. Assign that strength a number. Kind of go back and forth a couple of times. So my right hand is feeling like an 8 or a 9. My left hand, more like a 5 or a 6. So notice if you have that same thing. Let's assess our wrists now. So bring your arms up and around. Touch your elbows and palms together if they reach. Now, if this does not feel comfortable to you, you do not have to stay here. Take a breath into your body. Notice if there's any tightness or restriction in your shoulders or um, in your back. And then open and close your wrists. Notice if there's any, again, stiffness, achiness, tension, or pain in your wrists or fingers. And then let your hands flop open, almost like you're trying to make the letter T. And notice how close to a T you can get your hands. And then bring your arms down. Notice if that felt a little stiff or achy to hold your arms out in front of your body. So no part of melt should ever hurt you. You are in complete control over how much pressure you're putting on the ball. So if it is a little uncomfortable, just ease back the pressure a little bit. So we're going to glide. The glide is from pinky pad to thumb pad along the base of your palm. So if you put your hand down on whatever surface you're using, keep your middle finger relatively still, and I want you to start to rock your hand from side to side. So my elbow is kind of passing in the front of my body. I have gentle, consistent pressure on the ball, and the ball is making a little smiley face. I'm going to share my screen so you can see a short little video of what this looks like. We're going to do one side and then the other. Gliding prepares the tissue. If you've already done one side for a little bit, let's switch sides just to give you a nice close-up of the underside of what's actually happening, right? So we've got a little bit of compression. We're preparing the tissue here. Beautiful. I also want to show you how to do two hands at the same time. So you're going to place the ball right at the base of your palm and interlace your fingers and then glide both hands at the same time, right? So it's like if you don't have a lot of time, if you can just find maybe 2 to 3 minutes for yourself every day, you can do a hand treatment. So now that we've prepared the tissue, we're going to do our shear. Now the shear is only done on the very meaty part of your thumb pad. So go ahead and place your ball down, place your hand on the ball right at that meaty part of the thumb pad, and we're just going to do a little tiny wiggle. So think of this as you're pinning your skin to the ball and you're trying to twist the superficial tissue, that skin and superficial tissue, over the deeper tissue. You can even put your other hand on top and you can almost like you're kneading bread from side to side, front to back. See if you can relax that thumb. My thumb always gets into a little bit of tension. And after we shear, we pause and we wait. Take a breath. Let's switch sides and I'll give you a close-up video of what that looks like. There we go. So little tiny circles. You can use hand over hand, doing that second side now. Stimulating a fluid exchange in the hand. Ease back any compression if it causes any tension or pain here. kneading the bread, just in that little tiny region, right at that focal point of the thumb pad. After we shear, we're going to pause and wait with a little bit of pressure. It's kind of like we're squeezing all the sudsy bubbles we just created out of that tissue. And then when we let it go, there's a little fill effect that happens. So now we're not going to leave the fluid exchange in the hands. We're actually going to rinse it throughout the body. We're going to do a finger rinse. So I want you to rinse from your finger, the first knuckle of your finger, down toward the nail. We avoid the back of the hand because it's a relatively tender area, but you're also going to do your thumb. And I like to start my thumb all the way back by the wrist, and you're just going to rinse over your nail. And I do each finger about 3 times. So I'm going to go on the edge of my thumb, the top of my thumb, and the other side of my thumb. One direction toward your nail, pick up the ball, toward the nail. So as we're rinsing our bottom hand toward the nail, we're also rinsing this top hand up the forearm. So I want you to go through onto position point 4 and onto the wrist as you rinse. I'm moving on to my my pointer finger, side of the finger, top of the finger, other side of the finger. And just keep going, each finger. I'll give you a little video. Keep going on that side. We'll switch sides when you're ready. Rinsing. Gentle, consistent pressure. Now this will make your nails grow like wildfire. It will also, did I share it? Did I share my screen? I don't think I did. There we go. Yep. So it will help with the condition of your skin. Do your other side if you haven't done the other hand yet. My hands in the winter, I live in Western Massachusetts, and my hands used to get super, super dry, and they would crack and bleed at the knuckles. And ever since I started melting my hands 13 years ago, almost 14 years ago, I've never had that happen. I have way more hydration in my skin. And not to mention, my carpal tunnel issues are a thing of the past, which is a really awesome side effect as well. So the other rinse I want to show you that I don't have a video for, but I love doing it myself, is the forearm rinse. So if you're seated at a table, I want you to take your ball all the way over to that left side. Start at your fingers and bring the ball all the way up to your elbow. You're going to pick up the ball, bring it back over to the side, and rinse. It's in one direction. So this is what creates that fluid exchange throughout the entire body, right? We're sending that fluid exchange up the arms. So you not only get changes in your fingers, your hands, and your wrists, but all the way up the forearm into the elbow, the shoulders, and all the way into the neck. Let's do the other side. Fingertip to elbow, one direction. Right? We don't want to make waves by going back and forth. We want to send that fluid exchange up the arms. Don't forget to breathe. And the last little piece we have is called friction. This just helps us get any fluid we kind of missed with the rinsing kind of going up that pipeline. It can stimulate the lymph system. It helps our fluids go from fascia to lymph, and then from lymph out of our body in waste, right? So this helps to relieve toxins from our bodies. Get rid of those toxins, take a nice breath in, scribble all over your fingers, all over your palm, and nice breath out. Get rid of those toxins. Nice. Go ahead and put your ball down. I just put mine in a water bottle cap so it doesn't roll off the table. And just sit with your eyes closed and your palms facing up for a second. And just notice if you feel some tingling happening in your hands, maybe creeping up the arms. Really awesome if you feel that. That's some, stimulation going around your nerve endings and some fluid exchange and blood flow that you feel. Open up your eyes. Sit in that same spot you started on and turn your head from side to side. Can anyone see a little bit further behind them? Give me a little thumbs up if you think you have a change in your neck. Yes, I love that, right? Less tension or pain, just notice it. Can you see? So for me, I was able to see the edge of my tree, and now I can see my whole tree. And I wish I could do like a side-by-side video. And then over to this side, I can see well past where my melt rollers are over there. I love that. So let's redo our wrist assess. So bring your elbows up and around. Now, maybe before your elbows weren't close. Maybe they're a little closer. Maybe this position feels a little closer. Take a breath into your body. Notice if it feels a little easier, less restriction across your back or in your shoulders. Open and close your hands. See if there's less pain or tension in your wrists or fingers. And then let your hands flop open and notice if you gained some range of motion. I actually see some of you out there have. I certainly have too. A little closer to a T, and then bring your arms down. So many people sometimes say to me, I never can get to a T. Neither can I. However, I always notice a little tiny bit of range of motion difference after the hand treatment. And that was just a mini hand treatment. We have many other treatments that are a little longer using the other balls in your kit. But my chronic wrist issues are a thing of the past. So I am just so happy about that. I don't mind that I'm not at a perfect T. I like that I gain a little more range of motion and my pain is gone. Let's redo that grip assess, that reassessment. Notice from side to side, does it feel like your grip is a little stronger from right to left? Does it feel like you have less tension or pain in the wrists or fingers? And does it feel more even from right to left? So if you assigned that grip a number strength, does it feel a little bit more even from right to left? Give me a thumbs up if you got some changes in your grip strength. Excellent. I love that. Yes. All right, take a sip of water. We're going to transition into the foot treatment, and please hold your questions until the end and then I'll open it up. You can put the questions in the chat now if you have them, and I will read the chat as soon as the foot treatment is over, and then I'll answer everybody's questions. Sound good? So have some water. I'm gonna scoot my table out of the way and go stand on my mat over there. So if you have any chronic issues with your feet, if you have plantar fasciitis, if you've had a recent surgery or a recent injury on your feet, I'm not going to tell you not to melt, but you might want to sit down. You might want to sit in a chair and do your feet that way. You can lean on a chair. We will be closing our eyes and standing up and doing an assessment. So just make sure if you are unsteady on your feet, you do have something to reach out and hold on to. And like I said, you can do the treatment seated. We don't want you to be causing pain in other areas. Sometimes when people are standing, it hurts their back or their hips or their knees. And if that's the case, just sit down and do it. So take your large softball, place it on the floor, and we're going to do an assessment. So go ahead and close your eyes. Actually, open your eyes for a second. Look down at your feet. Make sure your feet are nice and even on the floor, right? So your toes are pointing straight ahead. They're nice and even. You swear that if you draw a line from your big toe to your big toe, they're nice and even on the ground. If it hurts your knees to have your toes pointing straight ahead, go ahead and just open up your feet a little bit. I don't want you to stand in your assessment and be in pain here. And then close your eyes. Using your body sense, so your body sense is just how you're sensing your environment without your common senses. I want you to bring your awareness down into your feet and notice what kind of footprints are you making in your floor. Imagine you were standing on a beach. What kind of footprints would you be making in the sand? More weight on the forefoot or the heel, maybe the inside or outside edge of your foot's really digging into the ground. Just notice it. Scan up your legs. Notice if you have any tension or clenching in your calves, in your knees, in your thighs, in your butt cheeks. Take a breath in. And as you exhale, see if you can voluntarily release any tension you've got going on. Now, if you were able to just release muscle, yet you did not fall over, you just kind of prove to yourself you're using way too many muscles just to stand there. And if you're doing that all the time, you're exhausting your internal resources and accelerating your aging process. So we definitely want to cut that out. With your eyes remaining closed, take a breath into your body and lift all 10 toes off the ground. Notice if you have a big drift backwards. Notice if the thighs clench to get the toes up. And then exhale all 10 toes down. Notice if you have a big drift forward. The last thing I want you to notice before you open up your eyes, bring your body sense back down into your feet. Notice if one foot feels like it's stepping out in front of the other, and then open up your eyes. So I think I just saw some of you go, right? It's like, wait a minute, I thought I put my feet side by side. Why do they feel like they're in a staggered stance? So it is common. It just means that our autopilot is the aspect of our body that is supporting, protecting, and stabilizing us. It's not having a very clear connection to our center of gravity, which is in our pelvis. So it might feel like you're stepping out, one foot stepping out in front of the other. Let's see if we can alleviate that. Notice, remember, if you had any clenching, notice and remember all of those things, and we'll see if we make any changes after we do the feet. So I'm going to do my left foot first. Why don't you do your right foot first so we can mirror each other? So put the foot that you're not melting yet about 18 inches away from your ball, and that ball is going to be right in line with the arch of this foot. Take the foot you will be melting, so your right side, place it right in front of your ball, and come down onto the ball very gently, right in position point 1. So I've got a nice big poster here that I'll actually show you. Position point 1 is smack dab in the center of your foot. So your stance is a little bit wider than hip distance apart, and you're coming onto and off of the ball. Now, I do this all the time. I can put all of my body weight on this ball, but if it causes a little discomfort, you're going to lean more over to this side and just give it a little teeny tiny touch. Yeah. Find your tolerable compression here. And then all we're going to do is move our body around our center of gravity. This silly little movement just helps our movement become more efficient when we're not thinking about it. Go ahead and stand on up. Take a nice focused breath. This is our diaphragm point. So take a nice breath here into position point 1. Come off of the ball. Take a step back with the foot that you are not melting yet. We're going to melt this whole side first. Place the ball in position point 5, which is right in front of the heel. So it's not on the pad of your heel, it's right in front. This leg is behind you. So from the side, you look like you're in a staggered stance here. We're going to compress position point 5, give it a breath. That's a low back point. Keep your arms off of your body, right? So I see some people out there with their hands on their pelvis. Let's do position point 1 one more time. Right smack dab in the center of the foot, diaphragm point, and then position point 5 one more time. Focus breath here. Find 50% of your weight on the front foot, 50% on the back foot. Like you got a little melt high heel shoe on. You're going to keep the ball of your foot or the forefoot on the floor, and we're going to glide. Just rock your heel back and forth. We're going to zigzag that ball all the way to the back of your heel, and then bring it back to position point 5. So I just want to show you a quick video, what that looks like. So we're all on the same page with that. Share screen. There we go. And you can kind of see it from that underside, right? So it's nice and slow. Some people like to glide really, really fast. It's just a nice slow glide, bringing it all the way to the back of your heel and then back to position point 5. So you see right there, she's at position point 5. It's right before the heel. So bring it on back to position point 5, and we're going to do a shear. Whoopsie, I went right over the shear. Hold on. We're going to do a shear. There you go. So right at position point 5, it's a tiny, tiny little wiggle. We're pinning the ball to the skin and we are wiggling it just a little bit. So this is kind of like creating that sudsy bubbles in the tissue. This is the hydration effect. And then after we're done shearing, we pause and wait and hold. Now we can rinse. So you're going to place the ball right at the forefoot. So right under that big toe knuckle. And you're going to squeegee the ball all the way to the back of the heel, step all the way through onto that front foot to get the weight off of the back leg. The rinse goes in one direction, just like we did on the hands, from the ball of the foot to the heel, stepping all the way through onto that front foot each time. So you go once from the big toe knuckle, once from the next knuckle, once from the knuckle after that, right? So you keep going. So you get all of your toes. So I like to rinse about 5 times, once from each knuckle, and then maybe 2 more times for good measure, just to make sure that fluid exchange is going up the legs into the low back, the sacrum, and the spine. So this is where we're creating that fluid exchange throughout the entire system. That next little piece is friction, just like we did on the hands. So you're going to balance and you're going to wiggle that ball all over the bottom of your foot. So get your toes, get the ball of your foot. Notice how your balance is on this side, right? Scribble, scribble, scribble all over. And then put that ball to the side. Look down at your feet. Make sure they're nice and even on the floor. Close your eyes. Take a breath in. Relax. Bring your body sense into your feet. So I appreciate maybe the foot you just melted feels different than the foot you haven't melted yet. We were just rubbing a ball on it, so it probably does feel a little bit different. But can you sense a difference in the side you've melted? That whole leg is different than the side you haven't melted yet. Does it feel on the side we haven't melted, you're very aware of your hip, your knee, and your ankle, but on the side you have melted, it just feels like a seamless leg from hip to heel. I'm going to open up my eyes. Open up your eyes. Give me a little thumbs up if that's what you feel. Do you feel a difference from right side to left side? Give me a thumbs up. Awesome. So let's do the other side. Otherwise, we're going to walk around in circles for the rest of the day and maybe feel a little wonky. So let's do that second side. So let's set up just the same way. So you're going to put your foot about 18 inches away from the ball, the one that you just melted. Take the foot you haven't melted, place the forefoot in front of the ball, and then nice and easy, gentle compression, you're going to bring the ball down into position point 1. Remember, that's right smack dab in the center of the foot. Your feet are a little bit wider than hip distance apart. You're rocking onto and off of the ball to find tolerable compression. So if I see people making faces like this, that's too much compression, right? You want to be over to this side and just give it a feather light touch. Remember, you can always sit to do this. Find your tolerable compression, whatever that is for you. Let's take a nice focused breath into that diaphragm point. And then move your body around your center of gravity. This just helps movement become more efficient when we're not thinking about it later. Then stand on up. So we don't put all of our body weight onto the ball. You're going to come off of the ball, take a step back with that foot that's already been melted fully, and let's do position point 5. So remember, that is right before the heel. It's not on the pad of the heel, it's right before the heel. Position point 5 correlates to a low back. Come on back, bring it to position point 1 one more time. You can bend and lunge into that ball or step completely forward onto it if that feels okay. And then position point 5 one more time. Give it a little press. Remember, we're in that staggered stance. So if you see me from the side, I'm like this. Get 50% of your weight on that back foot, 50% on the front foot, and keep the forefoot on the floor. Remember, we're going to rock that heel back and forth so the ball starts to move back and forth. Here's our glide. We're preparing our tissue. Keep your arms off of your body, right? Lots of people get like this because it's a little harder to balance when you have your foot on a ball. Let's zigzag the ball all the way to the back of the heel and then zigzag it back to position point 5, right before the heel. When you get back to position point 5, tighten up the wiggle. Give it a little bit more compression if that's comfortable for you. This is what creates that fluid exchange, that sudsy bubbles that we talk about. And then after we shear, we always pause and wait, like we're squeezing all the sudsy bubbles out of that spot. And then you're going to come off of that ball, and you might even feel a little tingle, a little fill effect there. And then I like to rinse by putting my feet almost side by side. I'm going to place the ball under position point. Well, these are the twos, right? The first knuckle of each toe. I'm going to compress on my big toe knuckle and squeegee that ball all the way to the back of the heel. Step onto this front foot so this back hip doesn't get too cranky. Lift up your foot, bring that ball back, and then again, rinse from your second toe. Come on back, rinse from the third toe. Stepping all the way forward onto that ball. I like to squeeze the ball between my heel and the floor. Come on back and rinse. And I'm going to do my pinky toe, rinsing, sending that fluid exchange up through out the rest of the body. This is what helps me the most with my low back pain. And then let's do a little friction. So it's very, very light touch, kind of like putting your foot up against a hot tub jet, right? Stimulating very, very gently, helping our bodies get rid of toxins. And then let's go back over to that other side. Let's wake up that other leg and let's do a little friction over there. So friction is one of the things that you can do as a standalone practice. You don't have to do all of the melt techniques to get a little stimulation happening in your connective tissue system and your lymph system. You can just do a little friction. And then let's go back to this side. Notice how well do you balance on this leg and shake this foot around compared to balancing on this leg and shaking this foot around. You might have a side that feels a little easier. So notice what that feels like. Get rid of that ball. Look down at your feet. Nice and even on the floor, hip distance apart. Close your eyes, tune into your body sense. Let's go back to the beach. Oh, it's 24 degrees here in Western Massachusetts. I'd love to be at the beach. You know, nice sunny atmosphere right now. But notice if that beach footprint has changed. Does it feel more even? Maybe it's even a little bigger. Maybe you don't have a region of your foot digging into the sand like you did before. Scan up your legs. Notice if your calves, your knees, your thighs, your butt cheeks are just feeling a little bit more relaxed. Take a breath into your body, lift all 10 toes off the ground. Now, if you drifted backward this time, maybe the thighs didn't clench, or maybe it was really, really quick. You had a very quick vibrational communication from the arches of your feet all the way up to the crown of your head. And then exhale all 10 toes down. Notice if that drift forward was a lot less or maybe non-existent. For those of you who had one foot stepping out in front of the other, does it now feel like your feet are a little more even from right to left? Open up your eyes. Give me a thumbs up there if you got any changes from the foot treatment. Nice. Excellent. All right, everybody. So let me just give you a very brief presentation. It'll probably take me, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes, and then I'll open it up for questions. So I'm just going to share my screen again. Make sure you have some water. All right. So there are many ways that you can melt. We have a self-care course, and my wonderful colleague Melissa is going to be putting things in the chat for you. So if you need links to anything, you can click right through the links in the chat. And please keep in mind that if I don't get to all of your questions, I saw a lot of things popping up in the chat. I don't know if they were all questions or what. I'll look in a minute. But if I don't get a chance to answer something, please email help@meltmethod.com, and I'll ask Melissa to put that email in the chat as well. We have lots of ways to get in touch with us. We have lots of ways to become part of our community. So we have a self-care course, and you will have access to this course indefinitely. So this is something that you purchase, you own those videos. You'll be able to log in as many times as you want. It covers the 7 fundamental sequences, and we also have 3 melt maps there. And it's different from Melt on Demand because Melt on Demand is more of a subscription-based service. So Melt on Demand is another great way to get started. We have hundreds of videos, live classes with Sue, I'm pretty sure we have them weekly. We have new videos every week. We've got 24 different instructors for you to choose from, and that's growing all the time. So please maybe check that out. I believe you get a 30-day free trial of Melt on Demand with a beginner's bundle. So you can check that out as well. We have amazing instructors. We have about 2,500 instructors worldwide. So you can go to the Near Me page, and if Melissa would please put the Near Me page or the instructor finder in the chat, you can put your zip code in the finder and see if an instructor pops up near you. And if you don't have luck finding someone, you can always email us at help@meltmethod.com. We have thousands of instructors that we can refer to you. They teach online and in person. They have specialized workshops and private sessions. So please reach out to an instructor if you need help. We also have an amazing hand and foot therapy instructor training. It's all online. Um, I will talk briefly about that training in a moment. We also have a Melt Insiders Facebook page. If Melissa could please put the Insider Facebook page in the chat, please join that. These are instructors, they're lay people, they're people who are brand new to Melt. It's just a place for us to gather and help each other and network with each other to help us along our pain-free journeys. Melt is Sue and I are going to Red Mountain this summer, and that will be announced very soon. It's going to be at the end of July for a 3-day self-care Melt immersion. And Red Mountain is an amazing venue. We'll have a lot more to share about that in the coming weeks. So the hand and foot training, now back to that, is $9.95, but we are now offering 50% off. So $4.95 for our hand and foot training. Our hand and foot instructor training is right around the corner. It's actually starting in 2 days. Our trainings offer a fun and supportive learning environment where you will get positive and constructive feedback from our top of the line Melt teaching assistants. We have a private Facebook page and Q&A section within the online course to connect with fellow trainees to get your answers or to get your questions answered by our experts. What's included in your cost is over 24 hours of online education. You've got about 30 days to complete the coursework, but you have ongoing lifetime access to the course, so you can always go back and rewatch and re-listen. It's 100% online, and for the most part, it's self-paced, but we do have some instructor calls that are required, and I'll go over those in a minute. Included in your training, you'll also get 2 instructor manuals, a Melt hand and foot therapy kit, lifetime access to your course, CEUs by these amazing providers here. Also included is a 6-month membership that will give you product discounts and affiliate programs, monthly instructor calls with Sue, a searchable instructor profile on the Melt website, access to exclusive Melt instructor only Facebook group, business resources, marketing, and education support to help you build your business. The business resources include FAQ brochures, prefab flyers, and client printouts, step-by-step guides to teaching to generate immediate revenue. And that includes things like intro class formats, series workshops, and special events formats for you. So our next hand and foot training begins January 23rd. Our kickoff call is on this Thursday, January 25th, which is an optional call. This is where you'll come and meet Sue and me and the other teacher's assistants. We have 2 training calls in this training that are required to become a certified Melt instructor, and they are February 8th and February 22nd. They're both Thursdays from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern time. The business call with me is just to get your footing underneath you and show you the amazing Melt website, your product discounts, how to apply for the affiliate program, all of that good stuff. That's an optional call with me. And you'll also have an optional call with your dedicated teacher's assistant that will lead you through a hand and foot intro workshop, kind of like what we just went through. So you can see how your TA delivers this so you can learn how to do it yourself. So thank you so much for listening to my presentation there. And I'm very happy to open this up for questions. One of the questions that I saw come in to me is, do I teach any in-person events? And the answer is absolutely yes. You can find me at my website, balancetotalbody.com. I have a wonderful 5-day women's retreat coming up at the end of March in Florida. If you'd like to learn more about that, you can always email me, reach out to me on my website. I have a 3-day melt immersion workshop at Kripalu, which is an awesome yoga retreat center in the Berkshires here. And I also teach Monday and Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern on Zoom. So we can do that. I can have people from all over the world come to my classes. So yeah, let me open it up for questions. I can either read in the chat, or either Marco or Melissa, you can let me know like what questions to answer first. Feel free to raise your hand. Oh, go ahead, Melissa.
Yeah, there is one on the chat and it says, any advice for thumb strain from computer use?
Thumb strain from what?
From computer use.
Oh, computer use. Oh, yeah. So how many of you out there, I mean, who doesn't have devices like attached to their body all day long? It just seems like that we live this life of just sitting in front of a computer screen, right? Typing on the computer. So the hand treatment, absolutely. So if the hand treatment causes any discomfort to that area, just ease back a little bit of the compression. But you can absolutely even get started with the simplest thing, which is, if you remember what I said on the feet, you can just do friction. So if I was sitting at my desk, which I do, I sit here a lot, I would just get my ball out, maybe while I'm on a Zoom meeting, or I'm on the phone with somebody, and just do a little friction. But the melt hand treatment will absolutely help you. You just have to make sure that you're not creating any discomfort while you're melting your hands. Yeah. Susan, you have your hand up. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Is that me?
Yes. Hi.
Hi. Well, this is my first time, with you here. So this is great. I appreciate it so much. I've been in Melt for a while, but I've been also away from Melt for a while. So I'm glad to be coming back. My question is, this is more around my neck. But I literally, my cervical spine up here is actually going backwards now. I just had an x-ray recently. I have a lot of neck pain, and this seems to be the area that I've had the most challenge with physically in my body. So coming back to Melt, what do you recommend for just getting the fluids, the fascia, everything moving in the neck again this way?
So where I always have people start is the hand treatment. So
okay.
Really, the hand and foot treatments are the fundamentals of Melt. And I often say, if you've got something from your belly button up going on in your body, melt your hands, and belly button down, melt your feet. But melting your hands and feet can help, there goes my ball, can help globally. It can help with everything in your body. So I also have a neck that started to flatten out. Like I have no curve in my neck.
Wow.
And I needed to go have hands-on body work, right? So Melt is a fantastic complement to just about any exercise modality or body work that you can get, right? It's going to help you sustain the changes longer, and it'll also help you get better results from any kind of hands-on body work that you're getting. So that being said, can Melt help like regain a curve in your neck? Maybe not, but it can certainly help with the hydration, because of the way the connective tissue acts as that supportive structure. If that supportive structure is more supportive, it can certainly help you heal by getting the proper work done. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So doing things like the neck release sequence, as long as it is not causing pain while you're doing it, is something else that you can do.
Okay, I will definitely do that. And by the way, I'm actually at my mom's place helping her right now, so I didn't have my balls with me, so I just used a little rock.
Okay, first of all, I'm so glad you said that. Do you hear what she said? She's using a rock.
A little smooth stone, and it
Okay.
actually worked. I'm like, okay, I feel
So-
more mobility.
So, okay, now I have to break out my cornstarch and water story. So cornstarch and water, I know some of you have probably played around with that with your kids or your grandchildren, right? If you mix the proper amount of cornstarch and water, it acts as a solid, but it's also a liquid, right? And if you poke at it, it will actually create a solid that you cannot sink your finger down into the bottom of the bowl because you're poking, right? It actually it makes a solid. If you put your finger on the top of this mixture and just let it sink in, your finger will sink right to the bottom of the bowl. It's a really cool thing to play around with. Why am I talking about cornstarch and water? Because connective tissue reacts very similarly to the kind of touch, right? If we go after our connective tissue with a firm roller, a firm ball, or a rock, your tissue will actually go into action to support, protect, and stabilize you instead of allowing that tool to kind of sink into the tissue and help with the hydration. So I absolutely recommend doing it with a soft tool or just using your own hands. Yeah. Like let's glide here. Let's shear by doing this, right? You can always rinse with your hands. Keep whatever you're using to melt soft. And then you can always go in with a firmer tool after you've warmed up your tissue a little bit.
I'm a somatic therapist, so I'm used to using like gentle stones, and I go real gently in. So for me, it seemed to help a little bit. You know, I was noticing because I'm without my, I shouldn't say that. I'm without my balls, but you know,
Right. Believe me, we've heard every ball joke there is.
I'm sure. Okay, so well,
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're back in San Diego right now. But yeah, point taken. Thank you very much.
Yeah. You'll get much better results if you're using the soft tool.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. Thank you.
Let's see. Tanya is saying she can't get her elbows to touch. She's large on top, could stress in my shoulders, keep my elbows from touching. So if you are large up top, that is not a problem I have, my friends. But you can try to come up and over, right? So you're not just coming in like this. If the girls are in the way, try to come up and over and see if you can get your arms here. Now, that being said, if you've got a lot of stuck stress in your neck and your shoulder girdle, you might not be able to get your elbows and palms to touch. That's okay too. Remember, we're using these techniques as assessments. So if you're here and this is where your elbows are, really take a picture, take a mental picture of yourself, or even like do this in a mirror and then melt your hands and come back to that assessment and see if you can get your elbows any closer together. Even if they get a little bit closer, you're kind of proving to yourself that what you just did made a little bit of a change. So that would be my advice for you. Do wrists have to stay touching when you open them? And I think you mean when we're doing the wrist assess, like if your wrist is here, I wouldn't get super, super specific about it like that. It's okay if your wrists are here. It's okay if your wrists are here. All you're doing, like I said about the last question, you're noticing what did it feel like and look like in the first, before we melted our hands, and what does it look like when we're done? Did you make any changes? That is the magic that we're connecting. We made changes to our body in 5 minutes. Isn't that awesome? So that's really the best thing. Bare feet, better than socks. Asking about the foot treatment, I would say absolutely yes. You can melt your feet with socks on. Here's the problem with it though. The ball really doesn't get the opportunity to pin itself to the skin, and the superficial tissue isn't really dragging over the deeper tissue as best as it could with bare skin. Does that make sense? Right? So it's like you really want that ball to pin to your skin. And the other thing, especially when I'm teaching new people, if they're looking down at their feet and we're doing all of the position points, because as you notice on my little chart here, we just did 2 points today, but we actually have 5 different points. When you're doing the 2s on the feet, if you have socks on and you spread your toes, you're not going to be able to see if the ball's in the wrong place. So if the ball can be seen between your toes, you're actually not on position point 2, you're actually way up here, right? So having bare feet is usually better, but it's not a complete deal breaker. About compression hose. So someone wears compression hose for ankle and lower leg swelling. Should I wear them while melting or take them off? So if you can take them off and then put them right back on, because you'll probably get more fluid exchange, better fluid flow. I know there's some people like with lipedema and other disorders like that, they have to wear their compression hose all day. I would actually melt your feet at night once you take the compression hose off, right? Melt your feet after you take the compression hose off and then maybe go to bed. So I would take them off and then put them back on if you're doing this in the middle of the day. I did that one. Yes. Feel free to, while I'm scrolling through the chat at some of these questions, feel free to raise your hand if you want to unmute yourself and talk to me. Oh, someone's asking me if it's 24 Celsius or Fahrenheit. It's 24 Fahrenheit here in Western Massachusetts.
Hi,
Yeah.
Kerrie.
Hey, Affy, hold on one sec. Let me answer this one question, then I'll get to you. Someone's asking, where is Red Mountain? Red Mountain is in Ivins, Utah. It's the Red Mountain Resort and Spa in Ivins, Utah, and we're going to go there at the end of July. And Affy's dancing, so I hope that means you're going to come. Affy, what's up?
Absolutely, I'm gonna come. And I'm here with my friend Michelle. I came to her yoga studio
Hi, Michelle.
and I had her and her husband do it. They're gonna be ordering the balls and everything. So we'll be at Red Mountain together, hopefully.
Oh, awesome.
Kerrie, my question is, are we gonna have this video available?
Yes. Yep. This is being recorded and it'll be emailed out to everybody.
Okay. Of course, if they buy the balls, then they'll have the melt on demand, probably sign up for the whole package. So that'd be fine. But this video was great. Thank you so much. We
Good
have
to
to
see you.
leave. So I'm
Okay.
gonna leave you now.
Good to see you.
Bye, good to see you.
Brenda. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Brenda. While Brenda's unmuting herself.
Right, I got
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Brenda.
I'm a little slow. Anyway, questions. It sounds like you've got this thing going on that's starting soon, and it looks like 2 Thursdays are required from 11 to 1. I
Yes.
teach class during that time. It's really hard for me at that time. I'd much rather do something either another time or not till May. Now's my busy season, so I'd like to, wait till May. I assume things are still be going on, and
Yes.
all that stuff. Or
Yep. So we have 5 hand and foot trainings this year.
okay.
So right after this one kicks off, we'll put the next one on our schedule. And I believe that starts on March 12th. We also have one in May. We have one in September and in October. And they're not always on Thursdays. Some of them are on Fridays.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So for those of you who are not on our email list, I don't know if we have a newsletter sign up link that Melissa could put in the chat for you. Make sure you're on our newsletter list, and that way you'll get notification when we do have a training. And please, please, please join our Melt instructor page. We love to spread the word of Melt. Sue has been at this for 25 years. Melt is her baby, and Melt really deserves to be a global brand for sure. Someone's asking, can you tell me something about it? Is it EXSAM? I'm not sure what that is. Are you talking about the exam maybe that's included in your hand and foot training? So Fiesta, if that's your question, please unmute yourself and elaborate. Let's see. My website, once again, is balancetotalbody.com. Any advice for pelvic floor tightness? So foot treatment, right? What did I say? Belly button down, melt your feet. I would always start with the fundamentals of melting your hands and feet. But if you go on Melt on Demand, I typed in pelvic floor into the search a little bit ago, and there were probably 2 or 3 or 4 dozen videos on pelvic floor health. So it is there for you on Melt on Demand. I would absolutely, if you're new to Melt, I would do things like the beginner lower body compression sequence and the length sequences. And it would be fabulous for that. Let's see. Yes, we're recording this. It will be available later. I'm still scrolling through the chat. Yeah, so Michelle's asking if I can send my information for Zoom classes. I think Melissa put my website in the chat. It's just balancetotalbody.com, and all of my class information is there under the classes tab. It would be great to see some of you in my live classes. Let's see, Jeannie, you're saying I've lost some feeling in some fingers and toes. Will dedicated practice help regain feeling? So I wonder, Jeannie, if you're suffering from Raynaud's. I do have a friend that also has Raynaud's. We have many instructors who have that as well, especially when it's cold outside. They lose feeling, it gets really tingly and numb. And with a dedicated hand and foot practice, you can absolutely regain feeling. And some people ask me, well, how long does it take? And really, it is very individual. Everyone is so different, but with a regular practice, you will absolutely see some changes in the way your hands and feet feel. I would add toe rinsing to your feet, because I think you said toes too. Yeah, fingers and toes. So when doing the mini hand treatment, I would definitely rinse the fingers like we did today and the forearms. And with the feet, definitely rinse from toe to heel the way we were rinsing, but also there's a way to rinse your toes. It's very similar to how we were rinsing our fingers. You start at the top of the foot and you rinse down toward the nail, and only do that with the Melt Large Soft Ball. Yeah. Martha is having some difficulty getting the 50% off of the self-care course. So Martha, please email help@meltmethod.com, and they can help you with that 50% discount. Not sure. Oh, thanks, Melissa. You already said that. Oh, and then Martha, you figured it out. See, I should have read ahead. Let's see. How does Melt eliminate frequent trips to the bathroom at night? So good question. So I was one of those people who got up 2 and 3 and 4 times a night all the time. And I thought, I must be super hydrated, right? Because I'm peeing all the time. But ideally, when we sleep at night, we are tapping into our parasympathetic nervous system. That's when cellular repair happens. But if our body isn't shutting down and healing, it's actually showing signs of connective tissue dehydration, right? Your systems are not functioning efficiently. So all night long, your bladder is just waking you up, right? Your liver is in detox, or your liver is sending distress signals. So once you start melting, you might find that you wake up a little bit more at the very beginning to pee, but that's your body getting rid of toxins. And then over time, when your body starts functioning more efficiently and you're able to sleep more soundly, you can start sleeping through the night. I did, and I still can't believe that I'm sleeping through the night. Let's see, I probably only have time. I know it's a little past the hour already. I only have time to answer maybe 1 or 2 more questions. If you put a question in the chat that I did not get to, please email help@meltmethod.com. You can even ask them to send the question directly to me, and I'd be happy to email you back. Let's see. Yeah, hip replacement. Yeah. So sometimes Melt can help you avoid surgery, and other times Melt can just help you prep for surgery. and heal faster afterwards, right? Sometimes people are a little bit too far gone and they really do need a hip or a knee replacement to just make their quality of life a little bit better. So, you know, sometimes melt can help you push it off for a little while or avoid it, but sometimes surgery is absolutely needed. But I avoided bunion surgery, carpal tunnel surgery. So, all right. Let's see. All right. All right. I think that's all I can get to today. It's 6 past 3. Please send your questions that I didn't get to help@meltmethod.com. It was such a pleasure being with all of you today. I hope you all feel good, sip some water, and hope to see you around the campus, either in the training or the Melt Insiders page or on Melt on Demand. Happy melting, everybody.